Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are just about to get started here in 1 minute. My name is Caitlin Blackman. I am the Development Director at the National MPS Society, and we are so excited to have you here with us this afternoon. I am here with some members of the Adult Resource Committee. We're just going to take a little bit of time to answer questions about life as an adult living with MPS. These individuals have taken the last few weeks to cultivate some good questions and categories to answer during this time, but also some questions that we've gotten from the membership over the last few weeks. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll have everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll go over some topics that we wanted to cover, as well as the questions that you guys asked leading up to this date. If you have any extra questions, we'll answer them at the end. So you can go ahead and put them in the bottom of the Facebook Live chat. All right, Fanny, go ahead and kick us off. Fanny, just 1 minute. You're on mute. Let me unmute you. All right. Fanny, one more time. You're on mute still, so you might have to unmute yourself on your computer.
There. Okay. Hi, everybody. It's me, Fanny Zambrano. I have Morgio A, and I live in the DFW area. So welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is Jason Madison. I am 45 years old. I have MPS II Hunter syndrome, and I currently live in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm Kendra Slavin, and I have MPS type 6, and I live in the Midwest, so I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're excited to have you guys with us.
Hello, my name is Kyle Underwood. I'm 25 years old, and I have MPS II, and I'm currently living in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm really excited to be here this evening.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patricia Espinal. I am 29 years old. I have MPS 6, and I live in Napa, California.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Wise. I live in Oklahoma City. I have MPS 4, and I'm 41 years old.
Awesome, friends. Thank you. We're all so glad to be here. Jason's going to kick us off. He's going to talk about transitioning from pediatric to adult care. So go ahead, Jason, take over.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here today. I just wanted to take a quick moment to discuss at least my experiences that I've had with doing the healthcare thing. So the first important thing you need to do to transition from pediatric care to adult care is make the point of getting a cohesive care team together in order to, for adults, start branching out. So most of my experiences where I've lived, I've had the privilege of having large hospital networks that have multiple specialties or specialties in like the hospital group. So like I would have my geneticists there, and they would have connections with cardiologists all within the same thing, so they could share notes and all that. So that's really the most important thing. And a lot of it also is just taking the initiative for the care for yourself. And that can be difficult to do. So after I moved around to different locations, where I am now, I do have a specialist that only does pediatrics, and that's my geneticist. And he's the one that prescribes my enzyme replacement therapy, and he's out of network. But in this state of Pennsylvania, pretty much that's the closest one I have. So I went to visit him, and he is the person who's in charge of my care for basically anything related to MPS. So I asked him, what does his hospital have connections with where I live? And they directed me to a hospital group called the Lehigh Valley Health Network. And so then I started the process of building a team in the Lehigh Valley Health Network because they have connections with the geneticists in Philadelphia. So they pass information much easier than if it was a different hospital group. So then I found a primary care physician who actually is specialized in healthcare for older people, because I guess they figured that's the closest what I have. So then I was able to use him to branch out for the different doctors and specialties that I need. So a lot of it is you tell the point person what you need and have them do the work. If you have the privilege of having a health network where you live, that's very good. I definitely have like a cardiologist besides my general practitioner and my geneticist. And if I know there's an issue that the general practitioner doesn't know, I tell my geneticist to tell him. So everybody creates a dialogue. I kind of force everyone to start talking to each other because there are all these different components that need to be put together because we have so many different health issues. So I definitely have a cardiologist. I definitely have a pulmonologist. I have a neuro-ophthalmologist. And what else do I have? The orthopedics is very important. One thing that should also be addressed is you should try to, if you can, find someone who also helps with some of the mental aspects, because it can be, it's easy to take care of the physical stuff, but and oftentimes the mental side is not addressed. So if you can find someone, either if it's a counselor or someone, or even your general practitioner, don't be afraid to tell these people if you are having some issues, as well as any of the other opportunities, like reach out to the MPS Society, reach out to anybody on the Adult Resource Committee as far as that goes. So if you do need resources, once again, I'm going to say the MPS Society is a great resource because they also have connections with a lot of doctors. So if you live in an area that might not have a specialist, or specialist doesn't have much experience with MPS disorders, they will help you reach out to a doctor who might not be able to treat you, but would be willing to give important information to whoever you have as your central doctor to be the center point of all your different care options. So the information will at least be shared. I think that about covers it. If there's something else that you have questions concerning that, you can answer, do a quick question later on, or I'm always willing to talk. You can reach out to me or reach out to the MPS Society. So I will pass it along to Patricia for the school aspect, and thank you very much for listening.
Hi, thank you, Jason. So I will be talking about school. As we all know, for the past year, we have all been doing remote learning. But school has reopened thanks to vaccination vaccination. My plan this summer was to go back to in-person classes, but I decided that it would be safer for me to stay at home. So I did not go back to my campus at Dominican University of California, just because I felt that the classrooms, even though we have small class sizes, the classrooms are also very small. And I just thought it would be safer for me to stay home. So I've been balancing remote work with everybody else being on campus. It has provided a few challenges trying to manage and figure out how to do the remote classes with everybody else being on campus. My first step was that I got in touch with my accommodations counselors, and I let her know that I would be doing remote learning. After that, it was a matter of me contacting all my professors and also letting them know that I would be doing remote learning and how we could translate all my schoolwork to remote so that I will be able to participate in class. One of the challenges that we had in my case was visual and audio. So figuring out uh, how to allow me to hear and to see while class was in session. And basically how my plan works with school is that I log into Zoom. There's a computer, and I'm able to see the professor and all my classmates, and then they're able to see me on the projector. So that was one way that we found for me to participate in class. But it has been very challenging, um, trying to manage all those little obstacles. Because at first, I wasn't able to hear or hear the professor very well. I also used a captioner or real-time captioning for my classes. So the captioner also needed to be able to hear. So the first few weeks of classes, we just struggle. The professor at one point had a laptop that he kept moving around the class would just to make me participant of the class to make me be interactive. But that wasn't working. Eventually, we figured out that external microphone was going to be the best way for me to be able to hear the professor and hear my classmates in the back. But it took us a few trials just to figure out. We also discovered that the classrooms where my classes were going to be held didn't have a good internet connection, and that the layout just wasn't going to be good for the audio and the visual. So we changed classrooms. Thankfully, all my professors have been really good about that. But it was mostly a teamwork of myself, my professor, and my accommodation counselors to find a way for me to be able to complete all my classes, but also be part of the class. This being remote while everybody is on campus has been socially isolating. I mean, the whole quarantine has been socially isolating, but just the fact that I'm at home and everybody else is on campus was hard the first few weeks. I missed all my classmates. It was sad for me to see everybody in the classroom while I'm at home. But like I said, all my professors have been good about trying to incorporate me into class, asking me questions. One way that I also have found to overcome the social isolation is for me to jump in when there's class discussion, just to be part of the class, but also to remind the professor and my classmates that I'm also in the class, that I'm part of the class, and for them to ask me questions too. And then at home, fighting the social isolation of just doing class at home and just being home because of the quarantine. I have found the best way for me is to do like Zoom with my family, with my friends, getting together also with those who are part of my social bubble on occasion, just so that I can get some social interactions that I'm not getting from my classmates because I'm not on campus. I know that it's a different case for everybody. I know that some students have gone back to campus, others are still doing remote. But as long as you work with your school and the professors and your accommodation counselor, is doable. One thing that this experience has allowed other students is for them to realize that if they have to mix class, they're able to do Zoom. They're able to join my Zoom meeting and attend class that way. So I'm not by myself on Zoom all the time. On occasions, I do have some of my classmates who join, and I'm able to talk to them that way. So in the end, it has been a win-win experience. But yes, I mean, there were some challenges, but we overcome it. And right now, I feel that I finally found my group, and I'm able to complete all my work as needed. And with this, I think I just wanted to let you guys know that if you guys have any questions in regards to school and finding the best accommodations in school and how to talk to your professors and how to talk to your counselors, I'm here. You can ask me anytime. And with this, I'm gonna pass it on to Kyle, who's gonna talk about postgraduate life and internships.
Awesome, thank you. I think, with the conversation around school, it's really important to understand like the value of school to get us to the next stage in life. It's in terms of the workforce. And one of the big things that's been really pivotal for me is internships and getting that hands-on experience in the field. I think, having, MPS, it can be challenging sometimes to find out it's the right internship or the right experience that allows you to get involved, but also understand that, there might be some challenges you have to overcome. So I'm just going to kind of speak to some advice for my journey, and then also talk about how I use my story and my platform to really not only find my passion, but to find my purpose in life. In terms of, my undergrad and graduate studies, outside of the classroom, what I really did is leaned on some of the professional organizations in my chosen career path. My chosen career path is healthcare administration. So it's aligns well with a lot of our personal experiences of going through healthcare challenges. So aligning with understanding, who can I get involved with, who can I meet, and getting those connections. A lot of times those internships come from those people versus like just a general job board. Additionally, there's a lot of great support at your local colleges or even local nonprofits that can provide great advising and great supports on, who's a good organization you can work with that can understand the accommodations you may need, or potentially might be a great opportunity for you to get involved. I think with the remote working environment now, there's a wider net of opportunity for individuals to not only work remotely, but in different areas, different regions. I actually did a full 1-year residency, which is basically an internship, all remotely during the pandemic, and I'm thankful that I had that opportunity. I think going forward and looking at some just general advice and understanding how do you translate your collegiate studies and your overall internship journey to your overall passions, I would encourage everyone to kind of lean on their own personal experiences and stories, because I think we all have something important to bring to the table, and we can bring a unique perspective to whatever role we're in. In my own personal journey, the one thing that's been exciting is being in healthcare. I can bring that patient perspective to the table, which is unique in that frame of mind when you're having to make decisions at a business level. So I encourage those that maybe have aspirations, whether it be, working in healthcare, working in music, or just HR, construction, et cetera, whatever it may be. Just understand that you have a voice and a real desire to make a difference in the world, and you can do it with the story you have. I would like to speak to some things that I think have been helpful in not only being able to live out that passion, but also being a kind of accepting of, what I've gone through. I think you will learn to find organizations that support what you want to do and who you are as a person for your career journey. So I think as you're looking to that post-grad work life, seek out places that are willing to provide those accommodations, willing to be open to, challenge, ask the tough questions, and also embrace the story that you have. I'm currently right now actually doing a fellowship at the Cleveland Clinic, and I don't think I would be here today without being open about my story and also taking the chance of jumping into those internships that may at first seem a little bit hard or maybe challenging. So those are my thoughts. I think if you have any questions, I'm happy to share about my experience and any insights, I could share. But again, I think anybody in this space, especially when you're younger, it's a little bit, the uncertainty of the real world can be a little frightening, but with internships and understanding that there's people like us to support you, you can do whatever you want. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kendra, who will be talking about career.
Thanks, Kyle. So like Kyle was saying, at a young age, sometimes we're not sure of what the future kind of looks like job-wise, school-wise. And I'll have to be honest, when I was in high school and was looking at what I was going to be doing in the future, I had no clue, but I knew I was going to college. So then from college, you go on to internships like Kyle was saying, and then career. And so for me, like Kyle, I have tapped into my personal experiences in life, and having MPS has led me down the journey that I have been on, and I feel extremely fortunate. I had several internships that I enjoyed, but then I did run into a couple obstacles that when I went to look for a job, being 3 feet tall and in a wheelchair. So I've been working at my current job for 11 years. So, the atmosphere is better now. I mean, there's more inclusion, there's more awareness, but back then there was still a lot of, I don't know how we're going to make this work. Like, you're short and you're in a wheelchair. I mean, they weren't that blatant, but I mean, basically it was just like, we don't know how this is going to work. But I, kept pressing forward and found an organization which is called the Center for Disability. So it's an organization that is helping the state of South Dakota with disability resources. So for me, this job and career has been incredible because I'm able to put my rare disease life as a patient with my educational background into one. And I'm able to work with within the medical school. So I'm able to talk to medical students and helping them realize the importance of disability etiquette and how being rare can sometimes be challenging, things like that. But for me, I feel so fortunate for the opportunities that I've had. Like Kyle said, tapping into your network of people that you know is key in any aspect, especially nowadays. When you are looking for jobs, it is kind of to the point where it's who you know. It's not always what you know. They at least help you. They might not get you totally in the door, but that helps the conversation and that helps you think outside the box. And then job employers are more interested in hearing from people that actually know the individuals who are applying for these jobs. So then the other thing I was going to talk about is community involvement, kind of like everything else with knowing who you are, having MPS, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Community involvement is key for me, especially with my work, but also with just helping spread awareness of disability in general, but then also rare disease. So rare disease, which is in the term, like everybody knows, is rare. So the awareness in general is always something that I've been very passionate about. And since I'm in the Midwest, there aren't a ton of opportunities for rare disease patients to get involved in just fun activities or even educational activities. So I really try to work hard at getting that rare disease aspect or patient view into other activities that are going on around town or around South Dakota. That's briefly what everything that I'm saying. But like everybody else saying, MPS Society has a lot of resources, especially with awareness activities. When MPS Society or MPS Awareness Day comes around, that's a great opportunity for you to get involved in your community with. I personally have lit up a Arc of Dreams here in purple. So that's another way to get involved in your community with just spreading awareness about your own condition. If you have any questions regarding anything that we're saying today, definitely reach out to the MPS Society or me or anybody else. And now I will pass it on to Sherry.
Hi guys, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how I drive a 2019 Dodge Grand Caravan. So probably one of the shortest people. I'm 3'4", depending upon the tape measure I use. And here I drive this gigantic minivan. I'm going to talk about it, and then as I talk, I'm going to try to put pictures in the Facebook chat so you can kind of see what I'm talking about at the same time. But let's see. Pop that one off here. Okay. I'll mess with it after I stop talking. So I have a booster seat that we made when I first started driving back in '96, because I'm old. We took an old boat seat and recovered it, and that's what I used as a booster seat. It was hot, it was heavy. My mom covered it in Naugahyde, so in Oklahoma, it was like sitting on a frying pan. So over the years, we have made a few other versions, and actually have one made now out of upholstery, automotive fabric and automotive foam underneath. Works pretty well. I had a Nissan Cube that I traded in last January, and it was able to go from one to the other with very little modification. And then I also have pedal extensions that I've had the same pedal extensions since 1996. So they've lasted a long time. We have made some modifications as I've gone from vehicle to vehicle. I started off in a Ford Taurus, had 3 of those, and been in a few wrecks, none of them my fault. It was all people that ran stop signs in front of me and they didn't stop. And anyway, none of them were my fault. I'll just emphasize that again. But Ford Taurus, I see you, Fanny, you're laughing. And then I had a Chrysler Pacifica, the crossover, and then the Nissan Cube, and now the minivan. So I don't drive small cars because even though we're small, the stuff we have is all the same size. So, and we have scooters, we have wheelchairs, we have stuff that we have to haul too. So, but like I said, I have pedal extensions. The one I have now, it clamps to the post on the brake pedal. So it actually doesn't cover the brake pedal pad itself. So that's still usable for anyone else to drive my car with. The gas pedal doesn't clamp around the post. It actually clamps around the pedal itself. So we've made some modifications to where it's not permanently attached to the car. So if anyone else needs to drive my van, all they have to do is undo a couple screws and it comes right off, and they can still use the brake pedal with my pedal attached, but we do have to take the gas pedal off. And like I said, I'll post pictures in the chat once I'm done talking, the whole walk, talk, and chew bubble gum at the same time. And I also have an airbag switch because I sit so close to the steering wheel, the airbag would actually do me more harm than good. And so it is a switch, it's a keyed switch. And so the light is on when the airbag is off whenever I'm driving. And then if anyone else needs to drive, they can easily switch the airbag on. A lot of the newer vehicles that come standard on the passenger side, in case there's a child, but for the driver's side, you actually have to go through the National Highway Transportation Safety Board. You have to get a form from the website, fill it out. You have to have a doctor write a statement about, this is, how tall she is. You have to fill it all out and send it back in. And then depending upon what's going on in DC, I think it took about 2 months to get my form back. You have to have approval. And then you have to find someone that's willing to mess with your airbags. And I found that they are very few and far between. I only found one in the entire state of Oklahoma. And he said to his knowledge, he's the only one that still does it. Because airbags are dangerous to mess with, but you want to find someone that's very knowledgeable and that knows what they're doing. Otherwise, it could go off unexpectedly while you or someone else is driving. So you want to make sure that you do get someone that is licensed. And then I also have a scooter in the back of my van. the scooter that I had in my cube wouldn't work right in the van. The dimensions weren't the same. And so my boyfriend and his friend, they actually got together and they fabricated a new hoist for me. It works great. We built it ourselves. It's an ATV winch from Harbor Freight that has a remote control. And it's just a series of poles and an old Schwinn bicycle handlebar is the pivot on it. It's pretty cool. But I'll post pictures of that as well. And also I put running boards on the van because it was kind of a big step to jump into. The running boards make it perfect for me. And instead of crawling in the driver's side door, I actually, on my van, there's the key fob will open the sliding doors as well as the tailgate. But I'll crawl in the side and go behind the driver's seat and actually crawl up into the driver's seat in between the front driver and passenger seats. So it's much easier. I don't have to fight the wind. If I'm parked on a hill, I don't have to worry about the door either flying open on me or slamming shut on me. So it's much safer that way. I can also get out the same way if I want to, but most of the time I just, unless it's windy or I'm on a hill, then I'll just go out the driver's side like, you know, the average person's supposed to. And I also have a few accommodations around the house. Not too many. I do have a step stool beside my bed because, yeah, unless the mattress is on the ground, it's going to be too tall. And I also have some sticks with hooks on them in several rooms of the house so I can reach the light switches and cabinet doors and things like that. My boyfriend built a step stool and for the kitchen so I can slide it around. And then also one thing I have found is if you have the Amazon Alexa, you can put your thermostat, light switches, lamps, all sorts of things, even your TV controls can all be activated from that. So you don't have to go climbing around or, you know, you can turn on a light as you're walking into a room. I have some of mine set on timers. So whenever I'm getting up for work in the morning, the lights will come on in the office and the kitchen and the living room. So as I'm getting ready for work, I can go in and I don't have to stop at every light switch and try to find a light switch with my stick in the dark. And that works out really well. And the thermostat is also nice because then, you know, you can just adjust it and you don't have to worry about finding a step stool to crawl up to the thermostat because those, it's convenient to have them lowered, but it's not practical. And I don't mean that in a building sense. The sensor for your thermostat is what controls the temperature of your house. And so I was talking to someone about lowering mine, and you want the sensor to be up higher because, you know, heat rises. So unless you're living by yourself, if you lower the thermostat, it's going to drastically affect the temperature of your house if you lower it physically on the wall where it's located. So it's a lot easier just to get some sort of, you know, digital thermostat that you can control from your phone. It doesn't have to be the Alexa. There's a whole bunch of different brands out there. I think Google makes one and several other companies. And I mean, they are awesome to have. So let's see. I think I've talked about everything I have in the house. And let's see. I think at this point, I will stop talking and I'm going to pass it on to Fanny.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Fanny. I'm here to just join and share a little bit of what Sherry had said. I'm also have the privilege and the blessing to be driving. That is just my escape. What my legs can do, my wheels can do. So I love it. Same accommodations. I started very young when I was in junior high. I know that at school they were offering driving classes at school, but they weren't able to accommodate my situation. So they suggested me to go to a driving school. So I went to one here locally, and I explained the situation. Obviously, they saw the height in order to be able to reach the steering wheel and the pedals and everything. So they were the ones that connected me and order the pedals for me. I just obviously had to pay for that because it wasn't included in the school driving class package. So they were the ones that actually introduced me to them. They did the measuring, everything for me, and they ordered them. And once they got them, then we were able to start class. And I was always either the last one or the very first one to be driving with the other students as well. And back then we were using those big telephone yellow pages for me to be able to reach the steering wheel. But it was an exciting, it was freedom. I loved it. And then once I was able to hunt for a car, and all my cars have been four-door small cars. I've never adventured to the vans or anything like that, which might be a good thing now that I have my scooter, which I call her the Harley, my Harley baby girl. And but yes, I have one of my brothers, he's a welder, and he was able to modify those pedals that Sherry explained, and they've been able to accommodate to 3 to 4 cars that I've had in my years of driving. And the same thing with the pedal extensions, you know, be able to extend them to where it's something that is comfortable, that they can also be removable. So if anybody else can drive the car. But I kind of don't let that happen because I just want things to be kept the same way all the time. So I say, no, it's okay. I can do it. I can move the car for myself. But other than that, the same thing with the booster chair. I got one from the store, like those baby booster chairs, but it didn't quite work. Our little butts are not quite the same. So that wasn't comfortable. So we had to, again, my brother, he was able to work with wood, make a big circle, make it halfway, put the little cushion in there, some fabric in there, and make it nice and pretty. So in this situation, basically, we have to be creative. We have to be creative. When we want something, we need to go for it. And there are going to be, like everybody said, knowing, who knows who's in that, connections. Ask. If we just sit and don't ask and wait for things to come down, it's not going to happen. Okay. So connecting with people, and there's so many beautiful people out there that are willing to help and share and be creative and help you to get to where you need to, or lead you to the next step. So yes, there's definitely a lot of that. And trust me, if you're able and willing to drive, it can happen. It's just a matter of, losing that fear, or or putting the limits to yourself. And even if you can use your legs, I know that a lot of them can do it with their hands. So those are pedals that, hand extensions that you can use for that as well. So anything that can help you to get to point A to point B, do it. Okay. And the same thing with accommodations at home. Same thing. I still am able to manage to do the lights and everything. I have to do a little bit stretching, but I consider that a little exercise sometimes. But yes, accommodations, even not long ago, I had to get a new set of bed, and everything that in the store was like for giants. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't find anything. What happened to the normal beds out there? And so I found one, and even at the store, the ladies were so nice. They were helping me from one mattress to the other, and this is too high. We can get you the lowest one, the thickest one, and look, this one is, and maybe you can do that. Well, bottom line, I got the smallest one that I could, and I just had my brothers just kind of they was out of wood, so they just kind of cut the feet, and now it's a manageable bed that I can get up and down without any issue. So again, the point is, it can't happen. If you want to, it can happen. It's not easy, but it can happen. So again, if you have any questions or concerns, let us know. We're here to help you. I don't know, we can brainstorm together to see what we can do, but we have to exhaust every single resource before we even say, okay, we're going to put a pause, or we're not going to be able to do it now, but we just got to try. So don't let yourself down. Keep pushing. And now I turn it over to Mr. Jason. Go ahead, Mr. Jason.
Hello. Thank you very much, everybody. So I'll just finish this out real quick with just one a few things regarding insurance, and this is something that I've had to deal with a lot myself. Um, if you're fortunate enough to have a job that provides you with insurance, that really, really helps. Um, but sometimes you might find yourself at a period of time where you're looking for insurance, especially if you're growing to adulthood, you might not be able to be covered by your parents' insurance anymore. So what do you do? So there's a couple options. First of all, Social Security has two different programs to assist you with insurance, and it provides you with help with cost of living, or if you don't have a job, or if you're having difficulty finding a job, or you have to take time off for an extended period of time due to health reasons or whatever. They have two different programs, and they're called SSI, which is like basically disability, and SSDI, which is workers with disability. So the difference is one of them is for people who can't really work at all. And there are some options to have a slight part-time job that provides, you're allowed like $800 a month worth of wages, and you get, maybe $1,000 a month. I mean, it all varies. And then there's workers with disability, and you get that one if you have worked enough to contribute to Social Security retirement, and you can still do some work. So that gives you more ability to make more money. I think the cap on that is about $1,200 a month. Um, and then, you get living expenses. So it's like about, I think it's about 1,400 for me to do that. So that is a good option. And both of those allow you to get Medicare, which is pretty helpful. That covers about 70% of your healthcare costs. But with the amount of money that it takes for different health issues, if you don't have private insurance or insurance covered by your, employees, that might be your option. Like if you're only able to work part-time and they don't provide health insurance, you should go for one of these programs just to get Medicare. And then there's Medicaid, which is basically a state-run help. And this really is determined by which state you live in. The more generous social, security net states, such as New York State, Washington, they have programs where you can be a worker with disability and still make money and still qualify for Medicaid, because Medicaid is generally for a very, very low income. And oftentimes your benefits that you get from Social Security pushes you above that level. And that happened to me pretty much in Pennsylvania. But if you live in a state that you can get that Medicaid in that program, then that pretty much covers everything, that covers that 30%. But if you're in a state like I am now, where even though I don't make a lot of money, I still make too much money, even with their disability program. I have to find other ways because, enzyme replacement therapy by itself is so expensive. Even if 70% of that is covered, you still are like, like 10 grand, 20 grand a month just on the medication. So there are organizations out there. I have used the National Organization of Rare Disorders, NORD, and they also provide, they provide assistance to cover basically everything that Medicare doesn't cover. And they also have programs to help you fund travel. So like if you do need to go see a specialist that may be out of state or way on the other side of state, they can help provide funding to help you get there. There's a couple other programs that I've used and I can't think of them off the top of my head, but the resources that you can find, or once again, we'll say the National MPS Society, they have a lot of connections. And also don't be afraid to reach out to the pharmaceuticals that provides your enzyme replacement therapy, because they need you to be basically their customer. So they will work as hard as they can to help you find the funding so they can treat you. I don't want to make it sound like their only motivation is profit, but profit is a motivation. Or it's something for them, or else they wouldn't be in business. They wouldn't be able to fund the research for so it's one of those things. So unfortunately, in this country, it's can be difficult, but you just have to keep hammering it. And lately, they just passed not too long ago, basically MPS disorders are basically on a fast track for the determination for Social Security disability. So when I did it, it took about 2 years to get, but now it goes way, way faster. And if you do get off that program, there are always ways to get back onto it later when it's needed. So don't be afraid to lose your benefits if you get like a higher job, because if you lose a job or you have to step away, those benefits are still, you can still get them back. So I think that about covers it. And there, so if you have any other questions or whatever, just, I think we've made that point quite frequently. So, we're all here in it together. So I guess that's it. So Caitlin,
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Awesome. So we have some questions that we received leading up to this time, like I said at the beginning of the panel. So I'm going to just read them out, and then folks from this panel are going to answer them. So if you ask questions, listen up. We hopefully will get to an answer for you. The first one is, does anyone have any experience working in a restaurant? What can you do if you have trouble completing physical tasks?
I worked in a restaurant when I was younger. There were a few things that I just wasn't that good at. I had some limitations. I mean, I was fortunate enough to not have too many difficulties. But that's something that you should bring up with your employer, and they should work with you to accommodate what you can and cannot do. And work with you. So it's kind of surprising what we can accomplish. And sometimes it might be a little trial and error. Try not to hurt yourself. I got some painful stories I'll share with any of you at conference about my experiences working in a restaurant. But it was a learning experience, and they did work with me. So don't be afraid to work with your employer to find some kind of the best fit for you doing food service or any other job, really.
Thank you. Is there anything you regret not doing when you were younger?
I'll answer that one. So one of the things I do regret is, in high school, I really liked I really wanted to be in show choir and everything. But at that time in high school, I wasn't like I am today, where I was more of an advocate, more of a self-advocate, being like, this is what I really want to do. So I never went to the teacher to try to figure out a way that I could be involved with show choir and everything. I know luckily nowadays there's a lot more that you see, like Unified, or you see inclusive programs, but that is one thing I regret. But like anything, hindsight is 2020. So if I was like I was now back then, I probably would have tried to ask the questions and figured out a way. But that's one thing I wished.
And
What advice? Go ahead, Jason.
And as I might touch upon that is a very good point. The thing I regret the most is I viewed having MPS as a barrier, something stopping me from doing stuff, and I didn't accept it. I felt it was just a hindrance, and I hated it, and I just shoved it away, and that really caused me a lot of emotional anguish. There was a lot of dissonance there, and I wish when I was younger just to accept that I have it and work with it instead of trying to fight it, because the good friends will accept you for what you have. They're friends. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to ignore it. if I had done that, it would have prevented a lot of self-doubt and emotional turmoil that used a lot of energy I could have used for something more productive for, overall life satisfaction.
Yes, I agree with both of you. I totally understand. With me, Morgio, it's always been a limitation in the walking distance. So when I was younger, I would avoid going out a lot. I wouldn't do a lot of shopping. I know that these places would have wheelchairs, and I was just too pride, to get on one of them. I was like, no. So I guess I got to that point where, like, if I can't do it myself, I'm not going to do it. And I regret that. I really regret that. I totally regret that, because until I was in the 30s, when I started, for the first time I went to MPS, it was at Disney. And I knew about the Disney that you can get tickets and everything. I was like, no, I'm just going to stay at the hotel and just go to the conference, and that's it. Well, thanks to Stephanie and her husband, Austin, and everybody, they're like, no, you're here. You got to go. And thanks to them, thanks to MPS, thanks to them. And they're like, nope, I'm going to pick you up in the hotel wheelchair. That wheelchair is going to take us. We hopped on the bus. And to me, all of that was new. I was like, oh my God, okay, we could do this. Oh my God. And it was an eye-opening to me. I was like, I've been so dumb not living life because of what people would say, or I didn't want to get in a wheelchair, and ever since then, my life has totally changed. And now that I got my Harley, thanks to my friend here, Sherry, that I saw her in one of those conferences. I said, that's exactly what I want, and that's exactly what I want. And thanks to that, I'm out and about and going and things, and everybody loves my Harley. It gets attention. So yes, don't let that happen to you. Okay, just don't do it. It's okay. Whatever means you're able to do it. And I even let myself, my friends pick me up and carry me. I'm not ashamed of it. I was like, yes, I got the privilege of being able to be picked up, So let that go. Okay. Just let it go. Just get there where you need to get. You, like Jason said, you have friends, you have family. They're going to love you, and they're going to make the way for you to be part of them as well. So just don't let that happen to you.
Thank you. What advice would you give parents or siblings?
I'll have a stab at that one. One of the things that I really try to strive with anyone, not just someone with MPS or parents raising that, is that the reality is, yes, we have MPS, but like Fanny is saying, and like Jason is saying, is don't let your child live their life every day of, I have MPS, I have MPS, I have, like, don't, because that's going to limit them, or that's going to not help them push through it. Like, it'll make them think that they can't do things. Yes, we all have MPS, and you can see on this amazing panel what all of us have accomplished. And your child can also accomplish those things. But that does not mean there aren't going to be obstacles, that there aren't going to be roadblocks. Life is challenging. We all have that. But help them and talk through things that if they have a difficult time running with their friends, so letting them know that's okay, but you can do this with your friends, or helping them if they really want to partake in an activity, trying to help them talk it out in a way that how could they partake in it, but maybe it's just a little different. And that realizing that having MPS isn't the worst thing in the world, because of all the amazing experiences that we get to have in different, in different times. We all, everybody's got something and everything. Make life what you want it to be. That's kind of how I try to help. And with siblings too, and recognizing that the siblings are extremely important in the family unit too. And they deserve and they need maybe quality time with mom and dad, because maybe sometimes when you have the child with MPS and the focus is on that child, that then you try to figure out ways that you can interact special times with the other kids, but then also making family vacations that everyone can experience. It doesn't matter what their ability is.
And
I
if I
agree.
may make another quick point. Oh, I'm sorry. Patricia,
No,
you can go ahead.
It's okay, you sure?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I agree with Kendra. And that's one thing that I try to tell parents and family and overall. Yes, we have MPS, but don't put us in a bubble. You know, we'll tell you what our limits are, what we feel that we can do or cannot do. Thankfully, in my experience, my family and my parents never let my brother and I feel like we couldn't do anything. They let us participate in everything that we wanted to. I was in ballet when I was 5. My brother was taking music classes. We were able to play with our cousins and our friends as much as we could. You know, we just let them know, hey, we can do this. We can walk this far. We can jump this high. And, you know, let us be our own person and, you know, to not try to limit us into our condition. You know, I always try to tell parents and anybody that I don't let MPS define me, because we are more than just our condition. We have hobbies that we like to do. We have other interests beyond just MPS and beyond the hospital and seeing doctors and all of that. And I feel that if they allow us to use our voice to tell them what we can and cannot do, and to experience different things and do different things, then that helps not just our confidence, but it also helps the parents and the siblings to see that that we are able to do more than what the doctors or society thinks that we can do. And to me, that's very important for family to realize that. And then on the sibling side, I agree with Kendra. I had a brother. I have a brother, and yes, he needed his own time with mom and dad. He needed also to realize that yes, Hera and I were different, and people saw us differently, but that it was okay to accept, our condition. It was okay for us to be different, and I think that's very important for siblings to realize and to work on. I think a lot of times families are so focused on the individual who has the condition that they tend to overlook the other siblings or how they're feeling themselves. So just working on that communication and that openness within the family is very important for someone with any kind of disability to strive.
Awesome, thank you. Just a few more here. Family planning, is childbirth something the body can handle? Doctors are unsure at this point, so reaching out for your experience.
Okay, so most of us here have not had kids, but one of the things that we wanted to share is that there are individuals that have had kids with individuals with MPS who have had kids, and that is kind of a personal decision for many of us. So you would be definitely talking to your medical professionals, seeing what they say. I mean, for most of the women here on this panel, we're very short. So there's a lot of don't know where the room would be for the baby. But so it's things like that that for us, we kind of here on this panel kind of took into consideration, but there isn't a ton of research out there because due to luckily the treatments that many of us are on because of MPS, we are older than other people that in the past, and so this is a new uncharted territory. So the advice that we were kind of agreeing on is it's a personal decision and you really need to talk with medical professionals, but you can adopt if you got a small tummy like us or things like that. There's definitely ways to have a family. But for those of us, that's kind of what we were saying. I know Sherry had brought that up. I didn't want to know if you wanted to say anything, Sherry.
I think you hit on most of it. Like you said, it's an individual case by case scenario. You can't say, yes, it's okay for all MPS because we're all different. MPS or not, every individual in the world is different. But, like you said, there's adoption, there's surrogacy. I mean, there's lots of options. Maybe your partner has children from a previous marriage or relationship. And so you have, instant family. There's a lot of different ways to go about having a family without physically carrying a child yourself if you're a woman. But just explore all the options and see what works best for you in your individual situation.
Okay,
And
we have
quickly
two.
from the
Go ahead,
quickly from the
Jason.
guy side, from a guy's perspective, my uncle has Hunter syndrome and he had children, so it became more of an issue for them because they were carriers. So they have decided to adopt to avoid any of that risk. But there's also a lot more options for basically test tube baby, ensuring that the genetic code doesn't pass on to your kid now with family planning and all that. So that's just, I know this question mostly for the female members here, but I just want to put a quick male perspective on that before we go.
Thank you. We have two more questions here. How do you get to the point where you're managing your own care and providers? How do you get to the point where providers are addressing you and not the caregiver that's accompanying you?
Okay,
Well, for me, go ahead, Kendra. I'm sorry.
I'll keep it fast, but I was just gonna say for me, it was kind of a natural process. I was always kind of a talker anyway. I mean, like a little kid. So once I found out I had MPS and I was 12 and everything, I just was always saying, this is what I have. Like I would answer the doctors. I know that's not everybody's, doesn't always happen that way, but I think my parents just took a back seat. And if I couldn't answer a question, even at a young age, then they would answer it. But I think sometimes it's a natural thing more nowadays with medical professionals. But I guess the other thing is communication. If your family is, if your mom or dad is, or your caregiver is talking, when you're like, hey, this is what I need to do, then it might be also just kind of having a conversation with your parents or caregivers and saying, I want to be answering that, so the doctor talks to me. So it might be some of that too.
Yeah, be assertive. If a fellow fails, kick your caregiver out. Like, get out of here. I'm talking with the doctor myself.
Yes, you do have to take that that initiative sometimes, and sometimes it's hard for the providers. They don't know who to listen to or who to talk to, refer them. But I believe if everybody's in room, everybody should be acknowledged. And yes, the parents have to kind of sit in the back seat and let you drive. And if you kind of get stuck, that they can kind of step in and help you. In my case, it was I always had to do the translating. My mom only spoke Spanish, so I had to ask the questions and then translate. And it got to the point where I was just going to the appointments by myself. So, and then it became, like you said, with everybody, with Morkio, you're telling them and they're learning more about you than them asking you questions. So you might as well take the little pamphlet that MPS has and say, here, read it before you even go in there. And that helps a lot. That has helped me a lot. So, but yeah, definitely don't be shy. You have to step up. And if you feel like that's a situation, either you tell your provider there, the patient, I would greatly appreciate if you can address it with me, or like Kendra says, have that little one-on-one talk with your caregiver or your parents on the side, and make that, it's just all about communication. So again, be assertive, and it can be done.
I know that there was a question on Facebook about his parents go with us to doctor's appointments, and that was from Ali. And yes, my mom does go to my doctor's appointments with me. But for me, once I transition from pediatric to adulthood, once I turn 18, every time they call for my appointments, they would only speak to me. So that kind of prompted me to take over, all my doctor's appointments, and that prompted me to advocate for myself more. So when we do go to doctor's appointments, the doctors, they do talk, they speak to me, even though my mom is there. She doesn't, she's just there to accompany me and to help me. But if she does have questions, then she asks her questions. But for the most part, I'm the one that is communicating with my medical providers, with my nurses, telling them what I need and what are my next steps in my medical care. But yes, it is okay for your parents to go with you to medical appointments. You just need to know that you have a voice, and that you can speak for yourself,
Thank you. Okay, last question here is, we are struggling to find caregiving resources, manpower more so than funding in our state. What do you recommend?
So I was gonna say, due to not knowing where this, individual question is coming from, every state is different. Just like Jason had said earlier about Medicaid being different in each state. Providing care and resources like that through statewide, like for individual states, can be drastically different unless you're going to organizations like MPS Society, for seeing if they have resources for individual states. But getting connected with your local state agencies is probably what I would suggest, or connecting with others in your state that are doing that, of other families, seeing what they're using. It can be definitely a challenging process, but like everything, every state is different.
Awesome. Thank you, Kendra. This has been so wonderful. Such a great time. Everyone has just been really participatory on Facebook, and thank you to this group for answering so many amazing questions. Yes, a big cheer. For folks to know, if you are an adult and you are interested in getting involved, the Adult Resource Committee meets once a month. And so if you are interested in participating in that, I will put my email in the Facebook chat and you can send me a message. We also have a quarterly Zoom social hour. So that's for adults 18 and over that are living with MPS or ML. The next one is on Friday, November 12th at 8 o'clock Eastern. It's just time to come together and be together on Zoom and chat with each other. And then we have one more thing, the Rarely Defined Partnership Program, and that is for teens 12 to 18 to get partnered with someone 18 and over that are living with MPS or ML, and kind of just have a mentorship, almost just someone to chat with about things that you're going through, talk about school, get advice from someone who's lived a life. And so if you are interested in that, please let me know as well. I will put my email in the comments. Thank you to everyone for participating. This has been such a great time. And this video will live on our Facebook wall and also on our YouTube page if you want to revisit anything. And if you have questions for the folks on this panel, let me know and I can connect you. Thank you.